Is ICP cooked? Why do I even say that? Well, it's because recently Coinbase did delist, right, some trading pairs when it comes to ICP. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's cooked because they didn't remove everything. And let me talk more about that in today's video, give my thoughts on it, give my perspective, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. So again, it's no surprise Coinbase recently kind of delisted some pairs when it comes to ICP, again, on their exchange. In which case, for instance, let me just give an example. One of the pairs that they sort of delisted is ICP and the Great British Pound. So, yeah, that was a major concern when it comes to people. And also another one that was kind of removed, right, was ICP and USDT. But keep in mind, when it comes to ICP and USD, it's still there. So, what basically Coinbase did was kind of delist, right, some of the trading pairs that weren't seeing that much activity, basically the ones that they didn't find worthwhile anymore, they kind of removed that. But if anything, I think it's actually somewhat a net positive. Now, it may seem counterintuitive, but the way I view it is that if there's less pairs, it's going to be less confusing. Because if there's just too many options, it's really annoying, actually, in my opinion. Which, again, doesn't seem logical, some people like to say, but if anything, first of all, again, it's not a full delisting when it comes to ICP. ICP is still on there, it's still on Coinbase. It's just some of the underutilized pairs as of right now, especially with the market downturn, with low volume when it comes to certain pairs, it just got removed. I mean, it's kind of like this, for instance. If let's say there's a lot of things around in my house, what happens if I don't want to use it? I can sell it online. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's just like housekeeping. It's just kind of cleaning things up. It just makes things less confusing. It's like, for instance, when I take a look at a lot of other car configurators out there, it's so like just annoying, in my opinion. There's way too many options. It just confuses me. What I like about the Model Y, for instance, or the Model 3 and stuff like that, it's just that the options are very like simple. It doesn't confuse people for no reason, if that kind of makes sense. So when I take a look at this right here, I think if anything, it may seem like a negative at first glance, like, oh wow, Coinbase, they delisted some pairs when it comes to ICP. That's true. But I don't think it's necessarily negative because they're still, listing ICP. It's just the underutilized pairs were removed and delisted. That's the thing, which I think again makes it less confusing, right? I mean, it's very annoying seeing way too many pairs. It's like, okay, what do we do now, right? I just don't really like that. So when it comes to ICP, I think it could have hypothetically been a blessing in disguise because now it's a little bit more simple. Like it's not as confusing anymore. And also, if we take a look at it from a fundamental perspective, the internet computer is, if anything, in my opinion, improving, right? If we take a look at Dfinity, for instance, the launch of Caffeine AI was very massive. Take a look at OEC version 2, take a look at cloud engines, also take a look at, for instance, how when it comes to the internet computer, it can allegedly connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles, which is a very big deal, by the way, which not a lot of people talk about, very surprisingly. But let me just explain this real quick. If we take a look at a project like Chainlink, which of course we do know is very focused on oracles, basically, in that case, an oracle is this data feed that brings data from off the chain. So it's off chain data and brings it over into the blockchain. The reason why is because a lot of decentralized applications basically wouldn't be able to function properly without that off chain data. So it really does matter. But the internet computer kind of steps in and says, wait, hold up. We don't need that. We can connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles. Isn't that kind of a game changer? I don't know, right? At least that's the way I take a look at it. I think it is personally for me. Now, not to mention, if I take a look at it as well, the internet computer has an aspect of decentralized AI, and Dfinity is really pushing this narrative of things running fully on chain. In which case, a lot of other projects out there can't really do that because they don't have the computational demand in order to do so, right? So when I ask the question, when I look myself basically in the mirror and I ask myself, is the internet computer improving when compared to previous years? I would say yes, personally for me. I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but it's not in terms of the charts. The charts are not doing good whatsoever. But what I'm talking about is the pure fundamentals when it comes to the internet computer. In which case, I just don't see what bad thing happened to it. if I take a look at the charts, yeah, okay, sure, it's around like $2.60 currently, but I'm just saying, when it comes to the pure fundamentals, I feel like it became better, yet the charts are lower. So there's two frames of minds here. Now, if we take a look at, let's say, low like stock prices when it comes to, let's say in the case of Apple, right? Do you think Warren Buffett, or should I say just like, Berkshire Hathaway, let's say, do you think they're happier seeing the Apple stock low or when it's high? When they want to dollar cost average, of course. I'm pretty sure that back then, when Berkshire Hathaway was dollar cost averaging quite a bit into Apple stocks, there was a lot of people that thought, oh wow, this is not doing good, they left. But on the flip side, Berkshire Hathaway was looking to enter. So that's the thing. There's two frames of minds. Low prices could be viewed as a good thing or a bad thing depending on the perspective. It's like if I'm a real estate developer, I see a piece of property, let's say, for instance, I see a home, whatever it may be, right? When it comes to the real estate business, if I see low prices, it may not be a good thing to exit, personally for me. I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but to enter, to actually, believe in that property and wait for the market to appreciate, and in theory, kind of the property goes along with the ride. If I'm just waiting for that, then again, I would, at that point in time, view low prices as a positive thing for me. So again, low prices could be viewed as in two different perspectives, as a bad thing or as a good thing. That's just kind of my mindset. In which case, if I see a project that I'm a fan of have a relatively speaking sort of low price, I don't know if I would complain about that if my intent is to dollar cost average once a month, in which case it is, right? I am looking to dollar cost average once a month. I would like it preferably if it's at a low of a point as possible. Do I want it to be low forever? No. It's like, for instance, does Berkshire Hathaway or Warren Buffett want Apple stocks to be low forever? Of course they don't want to, but when it comes to dollar cost averaging, I think they would like it if it's as low of a point as possible, I'm assuming. So yes, ICP is below $3. I'm completely aware of that currently, but all that means is that it's over 6 times lower than where it once was back in 2024 at one point. Over 6 times lower. That's kind of ridiculous, maybe in my opinion. And I don't even have to look that far. Back in November of last year, ICP was actually around $9. That's just November. Like, I mean, that's not even like a year ago. But the common denominator as of right now, basically, when it comes to this space, is that a lot of projects are having a pullback. It's not like it's just ICP. Bitcoin's also having a pullback. A random meme that I've never even thought of or heard of is also having a pullback. So if both good and quote unquote not so good projects are both having a pullback, generally speaking, because of the market conditions and because of the market sentiment, what do I want to focus on? Of course, I'm going to focus on the projects that I actually like and the ones that I find are good fundamentally. That's the thing. It's like, for instance, if I walked inside a mall, right? And let's say every single store at that mall only sold shoes. It doesn't even matter what store it is. This is a completely make-believe scenario, but let's just assume that is the case. So what that means is that if I want to buy something at the mall, at that particular mall, it's only going to be shoes. That's it. So if the common denominator is that it's all shoes, I'm going to focus on the ones that are good. That's the thing. It's kind of no different within this space. This space, there's a bunch of projects, but at the end of the day, they're still within this space. But in a sea, right, in an ocean of a bunch of projects that sometimes have similar narratives, have similar goals, in an ocean of that, I'm going to be focusing on the ones that I actually like fundamentally and the ones that I actually did my research on. So yes, I could believe on some random meme that I've never heard of. I could do that. Or I can take a look at a project that's currently ranked 48th in the world. Currently. That's the thing. It doesn't mean I only believe in this project, but ICP actually happens to be ranked 48th in the world as of right now. I don't have to believe in this, but I'm just saying, when it comes to me believing in a microcap, I don't want to do that though, right? I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Again, this is purely my perspective, but for the projects that I do like, and the ones that I actually find personally, in my opinion, to be good fundamentally, I'm going to stay patient and wait it out, because the market conditions, right? We see sometimes market downturns, we see sometimes bear markets. They're typically not permanent in some cases historically. But I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about just how a lot of people have been saying, oh, is ICP cooked and all this? I don't find it to be cooked for me, especially when it comes to the Coinbase news that I talked about in this video, like, you know, delisting some ICP pairs. It's like whatever. I mean, it's still there anyways. It's just that they did some housekeeping and removed some of the pairs that saw low volume, which kind of makes sense. ICP is an altcoin, the market isn't doing the best, but if anything, it made it more simple. And if there's less pairs, less things to be confused about personally for me. But that's just my mindset currently. However, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Believe the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.